हेलो नमस्कार आदाब ख़वातीन हज़रात शुक्रिया आपका तहे दिल से कि आप ये चैनल देख रहे हैं. Thank you everyone for watching this channel. The poem that I have chosen today is actually a very long nazm by Sahir Ludhianvi. As we know, Sahir Ludhianvi was one of the greatest poets of the 20th century Urdu. He was an influential poet in the Indian independence movement. He was a socialist. He used his poetry to talk about the problems, the trials and tribulations of the common man. He was a pacifist. He was strongly anti-war, anti-colonial. He was in fact censured by the British Raj before independence. And it is no surprise that this man wrote this poem during the Suez Crisis. You should just go to Wikipedia and look up the Suez Crisis if you are not familiar with it, because given the current situation in Gaza, it is quite topical, I would say. So, Sahir Ludhianvi एक ऐसे शायर थे, ऐसे महान एक शायर थे जिन्होंने आज़ादी के जंग के दौरान नज़में लिखी थी, बगावत की नज़में लिखी थी, समाजवादी नज़में लिखी थी. और उनके लिए सबसे जो मायने रखती थी ज़िंदगी में चीज़ वो थी इंसानियत और इंसान का जो मौल होता है वो. तो अब जाहिर सी बात है कि जब जंग होती है तो शाहिर को तो लिखना ही था उसके बारे में, और उन्होंने ये नज़्म लिखा था जिसका नाम है परछाइयाँ. जब इज़राइल का जंग हुआ था अरबी मुल्कों के साथ सन 1967 में, स्यूएज क्राइसिस जिसको हम कहते हैं, तो this is a very, very long poem. Right? It is in fact his longest of his kalams. And as I see it, there are three distinct parts to this poem, right? So the first part is where he's talking about the two lovers before the war. So what he does is that he uses these two lovers as a placeholder for the common man, because then he can anchor the story around them. And provides the war as a backdrop, but you know what actually draws your attention to is all the thing that is everything that is happening in the background. And then the second part is about how everything looks like during the war, and then the last part is actually after the war, and he ends the poem with a strong warning to the atomic powers, as he calls them, the atomi balan. Basically the United States and USSR in the time, France, the UK, South Africa, that he basically says, guys, don't do this shit again, because you know. So we will get to that. So इस नज़्म को मैं देखता हूँ कि इसके तीन बुनियादी हिस्से हैं, जो तीन इसके अलग अलग हिस्से हैं, लेकिन वो बुनियादी तौर पे जो है वो इसका बैकग्राउंड है कि जो जंग हो रहा है वो उसके बैकग्राउंड में हो रहा है, और जो दो लैला मजनू या जो दो लवर्स हैं वो किरदार निभा रहे हैं आम आदमी का. तो मैं इस नज़्म को तीन हिस्सों में, तो तीन अलग अलग वीडियोस में बनाऊंगा. And so I will basically make three different parts, three different videos about this. So this is, so that's Robert behind me. And so this is the first part, okay? I will try and explain the meanings of the words in English, mainly. Because Sahir was not one of those authors who used extremely flowery, complicated Urdu or anything like that. So he wrote in a way that everyone could understand him. Of course, the knowledge, the ilm of Urdu has not survived very much, unfortunately, anymore after the post-independence schism that happened between Urdu and Hindi, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, welcome to Parchchaiyan. So, जमा रात के सीने पे दूधिया आंचल मचल रहा है किसी ख्वाब मरमरी की तरह, हसीन फूल, हसीन पत्तियां, हसीन शाखें लचक रही हैं किसी जिस्म नाज़नी की तरह, फजा में घुल से गए हैं उफुक के नर्म खुतूत, ज़मी हसी हैं ख्वाबों की ज़रज़मी की तरह. So what Sahir is doing in this, he's setting the stage. So right, he's saying, you know, the night is young, the clouds are like a milky anchal covering. He's talking about how every flower, every leaf, every branch, that they have this sort of an oscillation, one would say. If I were to use an Urdu word, it would be a jumbish that they would have. Faza mein ghul se gaye hain ufuk ke naram khutut. Ufuk is dawn, and khutut is horizon, and lines of the horizon. So he says, Faza mein ghul se gaye hain ufuk ke naram khutut. Zami hasi hai khwabon ki sarzameen ki tarah. So everything is nice, everything is good. Right? And then he says, this is where it starts. तसव्वुरात की परछाइयां उभरती हैं, कभी गुमा की सूरत, कभी यकीन की तरह. तसव्वुरात is imagination, is the act of imagining, is let me tell you where this word actually comes from, how this word is built. Tasveer is what you call a picture, right? So you paint a tasveer. Tasavvurat is the act of painting a picture in your mind. That's what imagination is actually originally known in Farsi and therefore in Urdu. So, tasavvurat ki parchhaiyan ubharti hain. That is just the shadows of imagination that now are left, that come up. Kabhi guma ki surat, kabhi yaqeen ki tarha. Guma, doubt. Yaqeen, conviction. Sometimes like doubt and sometimes as a conviction. What is important to note is that when he says tasavvurat ki parchhaiyan ubharti hain, is the shadows of imagination, then the first thing that comes up is doubt, is guma. Secondary is yaqeen, which is conviction. And then he says, वो पेड़ जिनके तले हम पनाह लेते थे, खड़े हैं आज भी साकित किसी आमीन की तरह. So those trees under which we used to take refuge, either in the hot sun or maybe when bombs are falling, खड़े हैं आज भी साकित किसी आमीन की तरह. They are resolutely standing as a friend, a protector, as someone that you can trust. उन्हीं के साए में फिर आज दो धड़कते दिल खामोश होठों से कुछ कहने सुनने आए हैं. ना जाने कितनी कशाकश से, कितनी काविश से ये सोते जागते लम्हे चुरा के लाए हैं. It is in the shadows or in the shade of these trees that these two beating hearts have come again today with silent lips. They still want to say something. ना जाने कितनी कशाकश से, कितनी काविश से ये सोते जागते लम्हे चुरा के लाए हैं. Among all this chaos, with all these difficulties, they have tried to find two little minutes of their life between sleeping and waking in this time of war. यही फजा थी, यही रुत, यही ज़माना था, यहीं से हमने मोहब्बत की इब्तिदा की थी. यही फजा, this was the environment, this was the atmosphere. यही रुत, this was the season. यही ज़माना, यहीं से हमने मोहब्बत की इब्तिदा की थी. इब्तिदा, शुरुआत, start. धड़कते दिल से लरसती हुई निगाहों से हुजूर गैब में नन्ही सी इल्तिजा की थी. Right? धड़कते दिल से लरसती हुई निगाहों से हुजूर गैब में नन्ही सी इल्तिजा की थी. Huzur-e-Ghaib. Ghaib is a Quranic concept of the hidden divine. So you describe basically God or something as hidden, and Huzur is Lord. So it's Huzur-e-Ghaib se nanhi si iltija ki thi. Made a small little request कि आज़ों के कमल खिल के फूल हो जाएं, दिलो नजर की दुआएं कबूल हो जाएं, कि आरज़ू के कमल, the lotuses of desire, खिल के फूल हो जाएं, let them bloom. दिलो नजर की दुआएं कबूल हो जाएं, let my prayer be heard, be accepted. तसव्वुरात की परछाइयां उभरती हैं. तुम आ रही हो जमाने की आंख से बचकर, नजर झुकाए हुए और बदन चुराए हुए, खुद अपने कदमों की आहट से झींपती डरती, खुद अपने साए की जुम्बिश से खौफ खाए हुए. So he's describing how this person's everyday behavior is now full of anxiety, full of fear because of the war, right? रवां है छोटी सी कश्ती हवाओं के रुख पर. रवां, it's in move, it's in motion. रवां है छोटी सी कश्ती हवाओं के रुख पर. Usually a boat, goes on water. But what he says is, this boat is already left, but it is being carried by the winds, right? नदी के सास पे मल्ला गीत गाता है, तुम्हारा जिस्म हर एक लहर के झकोले से मेरे खुली हुई बाहों में झूल जाता है. He's setting this metaphor of them being on a boat, and how when the boatman rows the boat, and when the boat shakes from aft to fore, starboard to port, and this sudden jerky movements of her makes her fall into his arms. So he's not really talking of a real boatman here, but I must add a little tangent. The motive of the boatman is very, very important in Urdu poetry. Not only that, the origins of it lie in the Baul Sangeet, is the songs of the boatmen of Bengal on the Hooghly River. Their music over the centuries has descended into its own genre, and the boatman in that form of poetry, in that form of music, is the guy who is the wise man. He is the one who provides wisdom, right? So the situation here is the boatman. They're going where it is taking them. रवां है छोटी सी कश्ती हवाओं के रुख पर, नदी के सास पे मल्हा गीत गाता है, तुम्हारा जिस्म हर एक लहर के झकोले से मेरी खुली हुई बाहों में झूल जाता है. मैं फूल ताक रहा हूं तुम्हारे जोड़े में, तुम्हारी आंख मसरत से झुकती है. मसरत, bashful happiness, a shy delight. न जाने आज मैं क्या बात कहने वाला हूं, ज़बान खुश्क है, आवाज रुकती जाती है. I don't know what I am going to tell you today. My tongue is dried up and my voice stops. मेरे गले में तुम्हारी गुदाज बाहें हैं, तुम्हारे होठों पे मेरे लबों के साए हैं. Your soft arms are around my neck, and on my lips the shadows of your lips rest. मुझे यकीन कि हम अब कभी ना बिछड़ेंगे, तुम्हें गुमा है हम मिल के भी पराए हैं. I am convinced that we will never be separated. You are still doubtful if we really belong together. मेरे पलंग पे बिखरी हुई किताबों को अदाए इज्ज़ ओ करम से उठा रही हो तुम. अदाए इज्ज़ ओ करम, with respect and delicateness. The books that are scattered on my bed, You're picking them up with such delicate love and respect. सुहाग रात जो ढोलक पे गाए जाते हैं, दबे सुरों में वही गीत गा रही हो तुम. सुहाग रात, honeymoon, the night of honeymoon, prima noctis. That night, the songs which are performed by the women of the family for the bride, you are now singing those songs, but very softly. तसव्वुरात की परछाइयां उभरती हैं. वो लम्हे कितने दिलकश थे, वो घड़ियां कितनी प्यारी थी. दिलकश, समथिंग जो दिल को भा जाए. वो लम्हे कितने दिलकश थे, वो घड़ियां कितनी प्यारी थी. वो सहरे कितने नाजुक थे, वो लड़ियां कितनी प्यारी थी. बस्ती की हर एक शादाब गली ख्वाबों का जजीरा थी गोया. शादाब, verdant, ख्वाबों का जजीरा, an island of dreams. बस्ती की हर एक शादाब गली ख्वाबों की जजीरा थी गोया. हर मौज नफस, हर मौज सबा नगमों का जखीरा थी गोया. And this is his recollection of what it used to be. And in the next part, we will dive into when all of this has gone, war is raging, and the desolate loneliness of not only the physical landscape but also the emotional landscape is torn open raw in his words in the next section. And stay tuned for that. Thank you. Shukriya, Khush Amdeed.